After almost 2 years, Hazbin Hotel is finally returning at the end of October, just in time for the Halloween season. And it seems to be all about Vox? Not me, Ostrich Vox, but the guy who got to spend a year as the internet's favorite Tumblr sexy man with a TV head before Tenna stole his shine. But Vox is here to reclaim the spotlight as he's about to take over Hazbin Hotel, dabbling in good old media manipulation to radicalize the denizens of hell and invade heaven. In this video, I'm going to break down everything we know so far about Season 2, from interviews, to the new key visual, to the teaser trailer. Let's get into it, starting with an interview VizzyPop had with Polygon, where she talked about Hazbin, Helva Boss, and even Homestuck, the Triple H. We're just gonna focus on Hazbin though. First thing to know, this season is a lot closer to the intended vision for the show, with Vivian Medrano stating, Season 2 is what the show was meant to be. Visually, pacing-wise, scale-wise, narrative-wise, it's just a level up from Season 1. I love Season 1 to death, but Season 1 was made in a vacuum. We weren't sure if the show would continue. We had a limited amount of episodes and a very limited amount of runtime. I knew exactly what I wanted that first season story to be, and it was very, very hard to cram it all into that first season. I'm very proud of what we did. We pulled off something borderline impossible. But what's nice about Season 2 is, it's allowed to be a full season of television. I feel like this season is really impressive compared to Season 1. This is already apparent in the images and teaser that's been released for the season. The color palettes look a lot more vibrant and varied, and you can tell that the compositors were working their asses off. It's hard to gauge much about the actual animation since this teaser is so short, but I'm sure the jump in quality will be much more apparent when the full episodes are out and on our television screens uninterrupted. Now Season 2 will still be 8 episodes long, just like the first season. However, not all episodes will be the same length. According to VizzyPop, some of the episodes will be longer than the first season installments, depending on what we needed, which made all the difference. The pacing is better, because the story is simpler than Season 1, where there was so much going on. We were meeting the characters, we were dealing with the Heaven extermination deadline being pushed up, we were dealing with a big build to a final stand. There was just so much to cram into those 8 episodes at 22 minutes each, so the runtime for the episodes in Season 2 are longer by default. We were able to get much more out of the runtime and out of the episode count. It also helps that, unlike Season 1, where they weren't sure these episodes were all they were gonna get, it looks like Season 2 was made with Seasons 3 and 4 already being picked up by Amazon Prime, so they were able to pace themselves better, knowing that the show will be sticking around for a while. As for what this season will be about, Medrano says, Season 2 is a mix of a cautionary tale about misinformation and a story about remembering who you are, and not letting someone basically tell you who you are. There are a lot of themes of identity and power and insecurity, particularly around our hero and our villain. They kind of mirror each other in different ways, because both of them have very specific insecurities and very specific identities. It seems like Vox's rising influence over hell will cause the majority of sinners to resign their own beliefs in favor of adopting his ideology, hoping that following Vox will ensure their survival as the fear of retaliation for Adam's death looms over them, doing things that they normally wouldn't because, well, the Supreme Leader said so.
There's no real life implications at all.
The official description for the season reads, following Charlie's victory against Heaven's army, the hotel is booming with new residents, though, to her dismay, many are not there for the right reasons. As resentment against Heaven brews and sinners realize they can fight back, there are plenty of sinners looking to capitalize on the growing tensions, namely the overlord trio known as the V's. Whilst Charlie struggles to maintain the hotel's goals and protect her public image, the V's, led by Vox, make a plan to take over Heaven, placing themselves at the top. Meanwhile in Heaven, the angels must deal with the repercussions of Sir Pentious' redemption and their own part in the previous atrocities committed against hell. The inclusion about sinners showing up to the hotel for the wrong reasons has me thinking that a lot of guests aren't there to reform and get into heaven. They want to be a part of the action, in case Lute comes back, as the hotel is presumably still a primary target for Heaven's army. Charlie's trying to save people from a life of eternal damnation, but the newcomers just want to be Avengers and get a free pass for violence. Pentious' arrival in Heaven is also causing the angels to reevaluate how they run things, as his own transition from a demon to an angel proves that the entire system was flawed, and that they gave Adam the pass to slaughter countless lives for no real reason. They thought there was no other way to handle hell's overpopulation problem. Now you have angels grossed out that a sinner now walks among them, even though he earned his spot in heaven, and characters like Sarah are coming to terms with the fact that they have a lot of blood on their hands, which is also blurring the lines between angels and sinners. Moving on, we have the newly released key visual for the season, which depicts the major players at the Beast Tower. We have Vox at the top, front and center, and eager to seize control over Hell, which presumably includes the hotel. I think he sees the attention it's getting and is seeking to acquire it from Charlie, eliminating the options for sinners to redeem themselves so that they're more inclined to join his fight against Heaven. Below Vox is Valentino and Velvet, the other two Vs who will likely witness Vox's descent into madness over the course of the season. I'm sure they'll benefit from his rise in power, only to become disturbed as he's off his rocker. Of course, Alistair's making his presence known as Vox's rival, who Vox now has dirt on, as he saw Alistair getting his ass kicked by Adam. I think Vox is going to give Alistair a very hard time in this season, as he strips some of his aura and ensures that no one in Hell takes the title of the Radio Demon seriously ever again. There's Sarah and Emily, who have to juggle the ramifications of Penchas reincarnating into Heaven and Vox's impending invasion. And finally, caught at the center of all of this is an overwhelmed Charlie, who I imagine will be feeling a little guilty as, technically, all of this is happening because of her. Obviously, she did the right thing opposing the extermination, but I doubt she thought it'd lead to Hell revolting and Lute going insane. Unfortunately, I believe that this poster is a pretty faithful representation of who's going to be relevant in this season, that the arc only needs these characters in the spotlight, while everyone else takes on more of a supporting role, alongside any new characters who are being kept under wraps like Adam's son Abel and Baxter, a mad scientist whose color palette makes me think he works for the V's. We also know Penchas will be relevant to the season, but it looks like that'll mostly be through Sarah and Emily's inclusion as they figure out what to do with them and the system at large. I know the idea of the hotel staff and residents getting sidelined is really disappointing if you wanted to see more of characters like Angel Dust, Cherry Bomb, Husk, or Baggy, especially after waiting for so long, but one, they're still going to appear and have a decent amount of screen time. It just won't be as much as any of these characters. And two, I think Hazbin Hotel is taking advantage of the streaming landscape to try and model itself a bit more like anime and manga that similarly feature dedicated story arcs focusing on a handful of characters at the expense of the rest of the cast being put on the back burner. And then when the next arc comes, other characters get focused while the ones who are just given a lot of attention are benched for a bit. It's a nice change for most Western cartoons, who are usually obligated to stick to a status quo and end up always focusing on the same handful of characters, while others are lucky to get even a fraction of episodes dedicated to them. A show like Hazbin doing that would run the risk of everyone getting a little underdeveloped. I'd rather someone like Alistair get plenty of development this season and then chill out next season so someone like Angel can get fleshed out more, instead of it taking multiple seasons to get the same amount of development from Alistair because they're scrambling to get everyone an equal amount of focus. But I don't know. I think I also feel this way because the show is making it clear that this is Vox's season and that these are just the characters who are relevant to him. So it already communicates that they're not abandoning everyone for the long haul. Again, it sucks if you waited this long just for your fave to get sidelined this time around, but that's just motivation to stay alive and make it to the next season. The logo has also been transformed to reflect Vox's takeover of Hell and the show, as it takes on his color palette and retro-futuristic aesthetic. I really dig it. I think I even prefer it over the normal logo. Now let's dive into the teaser trailer that was released a little bit ago, which has an ominous, serious vibe that I really dig, but I doubt will be reflective of the actual season. It honestly reminds me a lot of when Cartoon Network would have those Steven Universe promos with a dark atmosphere that made it seem like someone was about to die or something else crazy, only for the episodes to come out, and yeah, there'd be drama, hype moments, and aura, but most of the time it was still the same old Steven Universe. I'm just saying, the editors did a great job of getting me excited for season 2, but I think the tone won't be that different from the first season, where it has a lot of comedy, but there are serious moments that can sneak up on you when you least expect it. We open on a shot of the new and improved hotel, which looks absolutely gorgeous, and it appears that quite a bit of sitters have gathered around the hotel, showing how much momentum Charlie and friends have gained since thwarting the extermination. Though it makes me wonder if word has traveled that Penchas made it to Heaven, and everyone knows that Charlie's system works, or this large turnout is, again, simply the result of demons waiting for the next big fight. But maybe it's simply goodwill from Charlie saving countless lives. This shot of Charlie looking up at the sky right next to Vaggie, who seems kinda down, kinda feels like the two are reminiscing about Penchas and mourning his absence, which prompts Charlie to look up towards Heaven and ask, "Hey, did you make it up there, homie?" But as she looks up, they get attacked, as we hear Vox proclaim that war is coming before a clock tower gets split in half by a golden angelic blast. This strike appears to serve as a message from Lute, who's now in charge of the army after Adam's death. It doesn't seem to be a full-on invasion, but instead Lute attacking to send a message, letting our homies in hell know that this isn't over. A move that plays right into Vox's hands as it leaves sinners afraid and desperate. Vox remarks that you're either with me or against me, which sounds like him giving an ultimatum. Maybe Vox is just being dramatic to the other Vs, as we do see them exchange concerned looks at each other before Vox slams his hand on the table, as if they both think he's out of his mind for suggesting that they could actually wage war against heaven. But he affirms that he's very serious about it. Alternatively, he could be saying this is someone like Charlie, Alistair, or even Lucifer. Those are all characters who the V's saw fight Adam, and Vox would either want them to stay out of his way or aid him in his conquest. Alistair would make the most sense since they have a past, they have a rivalry, and Vox saw him get his shit kicked in, so he could easily try to blackmail him. Something like, work for me, or everyone will find out that the radio demon is actually a bum. Though we have this shot of Lucifer descending from above, so maybe Vox did arrange a meeting with him, trying to get him to use his immense strength for the war. Maybe this is Lucifer making his presence known during Lute's attack, or he's just visiting Charlie at the hotel, and this ominous entrance is a fake out. Arriving after Lute makes a move would make sense, given that Charlie seems to be surrounded by smoke as she goes from looking up to right in front of her, as if her dad just appeared above her head, and now she's waiting to see how Lute will respond to him. Next up, Vox is shown forcing Angel's eyes open. Maybe he's using Vox tech to brainwash him? It makes sense, as I do think Vox as an antagonist serves a way to explore media manipulation, and I wouldn't be surprised if they go for the exaggerated route of him literally hypnotizing people through things like television, if he hasn't been doing that already. Alternatively, Vox could be using Angel's brother Arachnus as a bargaining chip to coerce Angel into complying with him. Something like, I know where your brother is. Do this for me, and we can keep him safe. Decline, and he might be in trouble. Maybe Vox needs Angel dust due to his connections to Charlie and the hotel. Maybe he's trying to control Angel into continuing his business relationship with Valentino for whatever sick reason. Whatever the case may be, it seems like Vox is making strides to get everyone wrapped around his finger. We see Vox rise up in front of Alistair as he's connected to 6 wires, and knowing the Helliverse, the context of this could be literally anything. He could be downloading the data of everyone in hell. He could be hooking himself up to a giant robotic dragon. Maybe he's just hooking himself up directly to his tower for dramatic effect, and then maybe later the tower can transform into something else. I don't know, I just feel like he has a giant robot somewhere. It does seem like he's just hooked up to the V's tower, as in the following shot, Vox, still connected to the wires, lifts himself up in front of the words resist, as an army of sinners with glowing red eyes marches forward. This shot is totally giving me musical number vibes, so I assume this is part of a song. But in isolation, it does look like these sinners are under his influence. We just don't know how literal his control over everyone will be. I think the more compelling route that's in line with what the season seems to be setting up is the masses being influenced by Vox's words, but acting on their own free will. It's true to life. But at the same time, I do think a little brainwashing will be involved with him somewhere. That he's been presenting people with the illusion of choice when really, they were already under his control. Vox is capitalizing on the fear and frustrations that sinners have over the extermination and the fact that Lute will keep coming back like a cockroach. He's vocalizing the sinner's desire to take the fight directly to heaven and finish things once and for all, which obviously disrupts everything that Charlie is working for, as it's proven that the hotel works and she's been trying to establish a decent relationship with the angels. We see Lute leaping out of a destroyed window as she descends upside down out of a room that she appears to have destroyed in a blind rage, likely mourning Adam. Lute is eclipsed by sunlight, which causes us to only see her silhouette, and this, combined with her upside down placement, provokes the imagery of a fallen angel, which I believe will be her fate. She's going to end up getting cast out of heaven and stranded in hell, surrounded by the people she tried to kill, and those who have lost loved ones because of her. On that note, we actually see Lute returning to hell, likely from the scene where she destroys the clock tower, and her severed arm has been replaced with a prosthetic that looks like a piece of golden armor. I have a feeling that arm isn't going to stick around for very long. Someone's going to chop it off before the end of the season. The teaser picks up speed as we're given a string of action scenes. It looks like Alistair is fighting outside the V's tower, judging by the purple, blue, and pink building with neon lights in the background. I imagine that this could be both a brawl against Vox and a conversation with him, as they discuss the aftermath of Adam's assassination. Next, we see Angel Dust leaping in the air and reaching out towards Huss, who's tied up at the end of a broken railroad track. They are without a doubt at the hotel, so I feel like this is probably a part of a gag. Maybe they're shooting a commercial or doing some sort of extreme trust exercise. In isolation though, they're just scaring the shippers while feeding them at the same time. Velvet fires her magic bow and arrows. So perhaps she joins the fight against Alistair outside the V's tower. Or maybe this is when Lute attacks. Then we see Cherry Bomb posing in front of an explosion. I believe that this, alongside Sir Pench's firing his cannon, is actually a part of a flashback. A press image for the season reveals a scene where Sir Pench's is on trial in heaven, so he'll probably get judged for his past on Earth and Hell, where we see one of the many instances where he was at war with Cherry and Angel. Nifty leaps in the air and prepares a fierce shake in front of the V's tower, so she might be fighting alongside Alistair. Maybe the whole hotel gang ends up taking on the V's, only to get their asses beat. Maybe they're trying to rescue Angel Dust after he somehow ended up in Vox's clutches. Finally, Vox says get ready for some breaking news as he strikes a devious smile. I think this will be the start of the musical number that leads to the crowd of sinners marching in front of him. His big rise to power moment. Maybe he'll expose something about the big fight with Adam, something that could be taken out of context to tarnish Charlie's reputation. Or maybe he just reveals that the gang barely won the fight on Extermination Day, and that if sinners really want to survive, they should be following Vox, not Charlie. And that's all we have for today, folks. I imagine we'll get a longer trailer before the season drops, but for now, comment below and let me know what you think will happen in season 2, what you want to see in the season, and your thoughts based off everything we've seen thus far. You can also keep the conversation going at OstricVox and at Roundtable Vids on Twitter and Instagram. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe to the Roundtable with notifications on so you never miss an upload. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. Peace!